right, today we're here with David. David, I'm your host, Anthony, for telling us your story today. You're going to get this awesome shirt. I have one. It's one of my favorites.
All right, man. Thanks, Anthony.
Not a problem. So you're here to tell us a story, an interesting story, one that I liked. So let's hear it.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, this gets kind of crazy. So I used to work for a prison, long time ago, and I was making good money, so I decided to get a play toy.
Okay.
And I'd gotten this motorcycle, a great bike, loved it to death. It was really fast, and got it, loved it. Later on, I decided I was going to get rid of it.
Sure.
And so I sold it to a buddy of mine. He bought it, and basically to save money or whatever, I went ahead and gave him my tag too.
Sure.
Which I didn't think was going to be a big deal. I was 21. I didn't really know any better. Long story short, he didn't register it in his name, and he had it for like 2 years and sold it to some guy.
So how did he register it if it wasn't, or like, the registration sticker? How did he get a registration without?
Well, he never registered it because I had registered it.
So did he never renew his tag, the tag at all?
Well, you can, but it costs like $75 to get a new registration under your name or whatever. So he just never did that.
Sure.
And never really learned to ride the bike and sold it to some other guy for cash. So he had no record of selling the thing or anything. He eventually told me he sold it, and I was like, all right, cool, whatever, no problem.
Sure.
And I didn't think much of it. Probably about 2 years after I'd sold the motorcycle, I had my mom called me. I was working at Walmart at the time, and she was like, freaking out. She's like, what? She's like, what's going on? She's like, the police came looking for you. Like, I don't know. Like, what's going? They were telling me something about a motorcycle incident where you were running from the police. Like, I thought you got rid of your motorcycle, and she's like flipping out.
So what was going through your mind at this point?
I had no idea. I was like, no. I was at work all night. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I didn't really think much of it. So she's like, I was like, well, who was it? And she's like, I don't know. They said that there were 3 police departments looking for you. And I was like, what? I'm like, really? I'm like, you have 3 police departments looking for me? And I was like, man, I had no idea what this is about. And so I called my grandfather and my dad, and I was like, look, I don't know what's going on, but I've got, like 3 police departments, with a warrant out for my arrest. I don't know what I did, but they want to, throw me in jail for something. I was working, and they're like, oh, okay.
Did you think about turning yourself in at that point?
Oh, I did, yeah, because I don't want like any, I worked at a prison, so I know how it is, and the best thing to do is just cooperate and get it over with. So then I had a couple of these detectives come up, and they were dressed in civilian attire. He had the badge, around his neck and everything. He looked semi-official, and I told them, I told them who I am. They're like, oh yeah, and they were like immediately they were jerks about the whole thing. They have the mentality,
they didn't believe you.
Basically, they were like, all right, well, this guy's running from the cops. We're gonna knock him down a little bit.
So did they arrest you right then and there?
They didn't arrest me. They wanted to, and my grandfather and dad were like, whoa, wait a minute, like this isn't, you don't need to be arresting this kid. Like he was working all night last night. Like he's not the one you're looking for. And the guy's like, well, we need to have someone in custody, and they pretty much thought it was still me, so they weren't buying it.
Did you have to prove that it wasn't your bike?
Yeah.
How did you go about that?
Well, I had a bill of sale from my buddy.
Right.
When I sold it to him.
Did they let you off right there that time, or did they keep you overnight? How did that work?
Yeah, they did eventually let me off.
Okay.
But they didn't want to. They were initially trying to get me to sign some piece of paper admitting to the guilt. And my grandfather looked it over and he's like, you don't want to sign that.
Right.
And the guy was like, no, it's just for preliminary, whatever, and just go sign it and get it over with. And I was like, I didn't sign it eventually.
Yeah, no, that was a good thing that you didn't.
Yeah, and I'm really glad.
After you gave him the bill of sale and everything, he still didn't believe you?
He didn't believe me until my buddy had actually contacted him, and because I gave him all his information too.
Sure.
And he was like, look, I bought the bike from this guy such and such years ago, and he had to actually show where he had made a large deposit in his bank account around that time frame that he sold the motorcycle to this other guy.
So now after that, did everything just go away?
No, I wish it did.
What happened after that?
Well, after that, there were 3 different police departments looking for me, and police departments don't coordinate very well.
Okay.
So I got that police department off my back. I still had 2 other police departments that were, basically chasing this guy.
Yeah.
And so I had, emails and phone calls, and still 2 different police departments looking for me. So I had to go to them and do the same exact thing, and it was really pretty hassling. But it really doesn't even end there, because even a year after that, I got a summons to court.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the summons for?
Well, I knew the motorcycle was involved because they
Sure.
mentioned that. And I called them, I was like, hey, you know, this is the court case number I got, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they told me, oh, well, you know, we actually arrested the guy on the motorcycle.
So were you relieved when you heard that?
I was extremely relieved. It was
Right.
great. And I was like, yeah, I was like, wherever you need to go, I will testify. I got my buddy will go. Like, it'll be great. You know, I was like so happy to get rid of this
Sure.
thing. And so I didn't even have him go because he actually made a plea bargain. And I made copies of all the court cases because
Right.
it's all public record. So
So at that point, did you think it was all done?
I thought it was,
Right.
yeah. I thought it was.
And then what?
Well, this is actually probably about 2 months ago.
Right.
I had Orange County contact me, and they were like, "Hey, you know, you're in debt, you know, such and such amount of dollars." And I was like, "What for? You know, for what?
Right.
I don't understand." Like, and they're like, "Well, for parking tickets. You know, it's from a motorcycle that you have." I'm like, "Oh," and immediately I was like, "Okay, this thing again. This is
Right, right,
ridiculous."
right.
And I was like, "I don't own that." And they're like, "Well, according to us, you do." And I was like, "Man." I'm like, look, I don't own this thing. Like, however I need to prove it to you, I'll prove it to you. And they're like, okay, well, you know, like I had to talk to like their manager. You know, I'd asked for him on the phone and everything, and so he was like, well, he's like, you're the last known registrant on the bike. You know, the tag is yours, so we don't really care if it's your bike or not.
Did you eventually have to pay?
No, I
fines?
didn't.
No, okay.
I gave them all because I mean the bike's like not even in existence anymore.
Right. But
And,
basically, you bought a bike for fun,
Yeah.
and it turned out being probably one of the worst decisions you've made in a while because
Yeah.
years later now it's still haunting you.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how many places I've driven back and forth, how many days I've had to take off of work, like trying to explain to my bosses like,
Right.
oh well, I have police departments trying to arrest me. I can't come in
and
today.
You're just trying to protect your image because if nothing else, you could look really bad with all these things that
Oh,
could get
yeah.
stuck on your record.
And the funny thing was these cops that were looking for me, they went to like my mom's work and were looking for me. They went to my neighborhood.
So you almost were being harassed by them for something you didn't do.
Yeah, they were just looking for someone to throw into the bus, and I was the guy.
That sounds like a raw deal to me.
Yeah, that's pretty raw.
Well, David, appreciate you telling us your story.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. And now it's your turn. Go to myrawdeal.com now and vote for which story you think got the rawest deal. We need your help in picking stories. It's going to be either story number 1, it could be story number 2, it could even be story number 3. The choice is up to you. Go to myrawdeal.com now and vote. I'm your host, Anthony Castaneda. Thanks for watching.